Hello and welcome. I'm the Vanman24, and this is my entry to Cord 7's September Settlement Build Challenge. Now, here I am, just a little south of the Nuka-world rocket, and to the east of the majority of the park. And hello, let's see what we can find here. Some sort of building. Carnacki's Museum of the Cursed and Natural? Building for Nuka World Extension 20. Oh. Before we go in, let's take a little peek. Not a bad amount of scrap. And, that's where McCready went off to. Must be working on his power armor and a shed of some sort. Oh, why don't we check the main building first? Looks like the foundation has shifted a little bit. Some old lobby. Looks like there is an electronic lock on this. Probably would explain why it doesn't look like anybody's been in here. When the place lost power when the bombs fell, probably sealed this place down pretty well. Ooh, some recipes. Anything in the electronic? Dang. It's open for a snack. Anything in it? I guess there's nothing in here. Hey dude, you don't need to lose your head over things. Maybe that's why he lost. Old bathroom, and of course nobody changed the roll. Why would they? Let's see. A pumpkin? But then, hello, what have we here? Oh. This appears to be the script for the tour guides for this place. Well, I don't think any tour guides here is going to mind me taking a quick peek. Might as well give myself the tour. Hello and welcome to the Traveling Museum of one Sir Thomas Edmund Carnacki, born 1877, missing, presumed dead, 1952. Here is a collection of various items related to his cases, the man himself, and various bits of the occult and the relations to him. This museum is funded and is part of the Carnacki Institute, whose sole purpose is to keep the world safe from supernatural terrors that are real and disprove the ones that are not. Yeah, supernatural like that's real. Let's see. To your right, you will see a pair of books. The first one is the infamous Tragedy of the Crimson Prince, that tells the fall of the lone Prince of Algata, a fictitious land that seems to be set in some artistically defined version of Italy, or one of the surrounding islands. It is infamous due to the fact that every attempt any attempt the play has ever had to be produced has always ended in disaster and the madness of the cast. It is claimed to be more cursed than Macbeth, and to its left rests a copy of the famed De Vimus Mysterius by Ludwig Prynne, a 16th century alchemist and necromancer who claimed to actually have been a crusader in the 11th century. He was burned at the stake in Brussels, 1562. And here is the sword of an unknown crusader that has not much of the provenance of this piece is known, only that underneath the wrappings of the handle is a prayer to Saint Jerome. And this sword has, according to legend, has been used as a seal against all manner of beings of the vasty deeps and the outer dark. To its right rests an old, well-used walking stick, given to Carnacki by one Vicar Alexander Anderson. The staff belonged to him and to his father before him, and it is said to bear the might of the Holy Spirit within it. Across from it is Carnacki's own service revolver, which he used as a defense against the more mundane threats during his investigation, from animals and thieves and brigands, as well as during his time in World War II and World War I. Granted, in World War II, he worked on the Enigma program, but in World War I, he was in the trenches. And speaking of World War I, we are very lucky to have the actual Hand of Jude. It was the custodianship of such a relic was given to Carnacki after the near total destruction of the Oubliette Cathedral in Amiens, France. Truly, we are lucky to have such a potent relic of Catholicism resting here. Next, from across the way, we have a sword from the Middle East, from the Rubai el-Khalir region, the Empty Quarter, known as the Sword of the Jinn Princes. It is said to contain the heart of a jinn, or that the heart of a jinn was used in its forging. It was used to safeguard the peoples of that region from the mercurial nature of the jinn. And here we have an anchor. Now, this anchor is actually from a jarvie of one of Carnacki's good friends, Dodson. Now, the jarvie, despite being built for Dodson, and was haunted from the moment it set sail, thus leading to Carnacki's theory of spectral resonances, and that certain items, when made, can act as a focus to the powers of the outer dark. To your left is a black spear. Now, this spear was used not only as a means of inflicting awe upon people, but also as a means to sacrifice victims. Now, it was used by a cult that we will get to later, that Carnacki actually came from across the pond here to our very own Commonwealth, and broke it up with the help of the Commonwealth Police Department and one Inspector Legrasse. But we'll get to that more when we acquire the second floor. To your left is just a collection of various books and means of divining the future. Carnacki had no time for such things, for fortune tellers, soothsayers, what have you. He believed them to be deluded and charlatans at best, or agents of darkness and chaos at worst. Just past that is an unknown stone idol that was found during the excavation of a basement of one of the buildings in Lexington. Up until it was excavated and given to the Carnacki Institute, the area was known for, well, its phantom cow sightings. Next, you will see two very, very interesting books. One is a bit of apocrypha known as the Book of Armaments. Now, that has been considered a heretical text since even before the Council at Nicaea, since it claimed to have the means that Jesus himself had set down for the creation of magical arms and armor. To your right is a faded book in an unknown language that many have postulated is either a fantastic forgery, like the Voynich manuscript, or is in some arcane tongue since lost. Now, over here, you will actually find a very interesting doll. Now, this doll was found to be in the possession of one of Carnacki's friend's daughter. And while this doll was in her possession, though she has no idea of where it came from, because while it was found amongst her dolls, it was not one of her dolls. But Carnacki became involved due to the constant nightmares and night terrors the poor girl had. Night terrors that involved a great city beneath the sea. Truly, the imagination of children is quite fanciful. Now, over here is one of the paintings of the little-known artist Alexander Carter, known as Manor on the Moor. According to legend, it is said that some people will stare at this manor, at this painting of said manor, and become so captivated by it that they will enter a trance. And when awoken from this trance, they will claim to have visited this manor. And according to legend, while someone is in a trance, if another person were to come and stare at the painting as well, they may even see the subjects of the painting move, or see the victim of the trance in one of the manor windows. And to its right is a series of prints based on the story of Little Red Riding Hood. Now, the artist is unknown, but those who have gazed upon these paintings too long have reported feelings of paranoia, anxiety, and being chased, as well as claustrophobia, as if one were in a dark wood. Now, this is another item here in our very own Commonwealth. This was found buried in a lead box in the Potter's Field outside of Concord. Now, while it is obviously made of human bones, its origin and its reason for existence is unknown. Over here we have the painting known as Home in Winter's Heart by one Godfrey Legrand. It is said that this painting will cause any who stare at it to feel cold, and that it can and has dropped the local temperature of the area it is hung to below freezing, even in the heat of summer. Carnacki did a lot of investigations. Not all of them truly had any hauntings in them. Here we have the black crystal ball of the famous fraud, the Amazing Mentro, a so-called psychic and performer that Carnacki disproved and explained all of his tricks with the help of one Harry Houdini in 1919. And for those of you who wish to do a little bit more research, the Amazing Mentro's real name was Jack Lapidus. Next, we have a truly strange artifact, though whether it has any occult power, you can be the judge. And while it is a candle made from a real mummified hand, No powers have been known for it to have. No powers are known, but it was gifted to Carnacki by one Aleister Crowley, the most evil man in the world himself. When asked why he did this, he wished to awaken in Carnacki the soul of the Magus, not the soul of a Toby jar collector. Next, we have a tufa. We have a homemade Ouija board, or spirit board as it was known back then, and a tall figure-like mirror turned away. Both of these items belong to the infamous serial killer, Theresa DeVald, the self-proclaimed daughter of the infamous Chicago serial killer H.H. Holmes. Now, while H.H. Holmes did not have any children, she believed she was chosen to be his child after attempting a seance with a friend when she was merely 17. And after that, for the next 12 years, she went on a killing spree, where she would lure men and some women, according to various records, to their doom and before killing them. Now, when she was caught, she was found to be in the midst of working on a leather coat made from the tanned skins of some of her victims. And while the spirit board itself has no known properties, it is said that, and the reason why we have this mirror turned around for your safety, is it is said that she still haunts the mirror where she once gazed upon it, as she worked on her clothes made from her victims. It is said that if you stare at this mirror for too long, you may see the face of Theresa DeVald or of H.H. Holmes, and if you do, your life will end tragically. So for your safety, we have turned it around. Next, we have a strange idol that was gifted to the collection from the current coven of Salem. Yes, apparently there are still some witches in Salem. Now, if you were to follow me, we will now go to the second floor where we have various dioramas to show various aspects of Carnacki's life. Now, Carnacki's most famous invention was the electric pentacle. Now, well, he did... Now, Carnacki was a man of science, so he said, as much as magic, and was always tinkering, and his mind always looking to figure out why magic worked, and to which parts of the incantation or ritual were necessary and which ones weren't. And he said that his electric pentacle gave excellent protection that could stop even a great beast. Now this next diorama ties into the black spear we saw earlier, because in the Murkwater Marsh, in the area of the Murkwater Marsh, a lot of people went missing. Carnacki was called to help due to some occult symbols that were found that coincided with various items of the Sixth manuscript. So Carnacki, along with Inspector Legrasse and several of Boston's finest, worked together and were able to track down the cult and its cult leader to their lair deep in the swamps. And the museum would like to reiterate how thoroughly they have recreated this, for this is an exact recreation of the shrine that they found before it was destroyed, and it was reconstructed from pictures taken by the officers on duty. Carnacki was said after this business was done, he was a dangerous man, but it seems his dark god Ugqualtoth cared little for him. Now, as was made mention earlier, Carnacki was a man of science as well as mysticism, and was a brilliant historian and antiquarian, and was one of the foremost experts in detecting manuscript forgeries, as well as he worked tirelessly as a translator and restorer of various ancient tomes, and was great aid in the science of the occult of the early 20th century. But, as was mentioned earlier, not all of Carnacki's cases had a ghost as the culprit. Carnacki would all claim that for every one of his cases that had a ghost, at least 10 did not. Here we can see him, during one such case, discovering a hidden passage in the culpator of what went wrong, based on his case file, The Searcher of Endhouse, where he and his mother had a very interesting run-in with a so-called ghost. Now, the last diorama is set in a monastery in Galushka, where a monastic order known as the Order of the Cenithus once resided. They claimed that despite their best efforts and prayers, somehow a demon had came loose to their monastery, and while they were able to trap it in, they could not exorcise it themselves. So they asked Carnacki and his best friend Dodson to come and assist. Carnacki asked to be alone as he after his investigations, picked the room that he believed to be the center of the haunting. So he had the door locked upon him, grabbed the Sigsand manuscript, and set up his pentacle. And during the night, despite it being clear, a southern storm came and raged on, before strangely dissipating at daybreak. When the priests and his friend entered, they found his electric pentacle. One of its connections burned out, and the Sigsand on the floor. Carnacki was nowhere to be found, nor was he ever seen again. In accordance with his wishes, his estate, as he had no surviving children, was then thus given to his friends, who then used it to fund and create the Carnacki Institute as his legacy. Now, if you wish to know more of Mr. Carnacki or his case files, or even get your own copy of the Sigsand manuscript, please be sure to visit the gift shop downstairs, as well as sign up for the newsletter. Now, if we could all make an orderly trip to the exit, the tour has concluded. Alright, now that I've taken you on the tour of the museum, now, that was a bit of fun. Now, why don't we take a look around and see what else is here? And as well as I'm now going to break character. Now, as I said at the beginning, this is my entry for the September Build Challenge. And we were supposed to make a new attraction for Nuka-world. And for making a new attraction, I decided to make an old one. Because, well, I thought it would make sense that old Bradberton and his company, the money grubbers they are, would probably have some sort of building they could rent out to various individuals to do with what they need. Now, thus, this building was created. Though as I worked on it and I tried to figure out the gift shop, I realized it didn't make sense for this museum to have a gift shop. So, but it would make sense that that kind of stuff would be on hand. So thus, this storage garage was created. In here, you can see all the stuff set up for whoever or whatever would need for most things, depending on how it was set up and who rented it. So, well, just a few basic things for the renters. various signs. There are some tools and dollies on hand, construction lights, shelving, some of it a little worse for wear, as well as a bunch of extra cutouts, depending on what's needed. And just in case, and if there's enough room, some of the workers may even be able to store some vehicles, or a truck could come up here to unload. Now, obviously this was all built by hand, but there's a bit more. Now, we have the nice parking area, and we have one room left actually in the main building. We saw the manager's office, or the kind of employees area, and the bathroom, but there was one room underneath the stairs. And that was kind of the maintenance / janitorial room. As you can see, we got ourselves, a broom, a bucket, various tools, and some records and paint and other things. A ladder, as well as a fire extinguisher here. And there's another by front counter, just in case some of the wiring, because it is exposed well, Mr. Bradburton's company made the building fairly sturdy. They didn't make it the best. And, well, that's kind of my tour, the tour of my build. Now, this car park was built with the aid of the ground mod, along with these various sidewalk pieces. This is from Snappy House Kit. Though one fun fact is I actually tried, I knew I wanted a brick building here. This is actually the third or fourth time I built this, because the first few times I tried first with, I think, first I used the Donut Joe's set, then I actually then my game crashed and I lost my progress. Started that again with the set. Realized then I couldn't have a second floor, or if I did it would look weird because there'd be a gap. Tore it down, used USO for some of its retextures. Didn't like how they looked because it just didn't look right, and eventually settled for Snappy House Kit. Well, I hope you Oh, and one last little kind of bit of trivia. I don't know what the hell happened to my marquee, the marquee snapping. Don't know if it's something just related to where I put it or what, but a lot of these letters may look off-center. That is because they're actually not snapped on. Now, of course, they're clamped on, but they're not snapped on. I actually had to, the snapping refused to work, and I had to manually move these with Place Everywhere. And that took a little while. But I hope you enjoyed my tour. Thank you, and have a good day.